All right, we're live. Thomas Phelps, Kyle Howell, doing a random podcast on a Wednesday afternoon. What's going on, Thomas?
Oh man, you got some really bad feedback, but besides that, I'm doing all right. How are you? I'm liking the shaved head.
Yeah, the shaved head. It's the Corona cut. Everybody kind of, I think, is going to it in some extent. Yours is looking nice.
Dude, got the mohawk. I was a little bit grown out on the sides. I had it cut like 3 days ago, so I get some pretty good growth. But yeah, I'm gonna let this top part grow as long as I can, and um, can't wait to get back in school. I might rock it for the first day of school. Scare all these kids.
Yeah, are you doing any Zooms with the kids? Are the kids digging it?
So today we were just able to get back into Google Meet. Our district was really anti Zoom. There's
Really? How come?
there were a couple instances with some other districts about kids like, flashing genitalia on the
Oh,
screen. And so our district was just like, we want to protect teachers, and that's something that's totally out of our control. So they worked with Google, and obviously Google's working with all the education, the LEAs and stuff, and the agencies. And so they got Google Meet kind of squared away to where teachers can just like deny video from students.
mm-hmm.
So that way, the only people who are showing video are the teachers themselves. So we just got that access. I just had it today, and yeah, hopefully it'll be a way to like connect with students a little bit more. But
All right, yeah. So, how have you been spending your time during this whole thing?
oh man, well, I'm lucky that I just moved. So got this fresh new coffee bar behind us as part of the new pad, and
Nice.
nice little
The
kitchen. And
house looks amazing.
yeah, we're really fortunate.
What a great
This,
time! It is a great time to get a move in.
oh man,
A
no
lot of
doubt.
downtime.
No doubt. Especially just given the fact that like if I try to do this while going to work every day, and I'm out of the house at 6 every morning during the school year, and I don't get back till 5. So trying to move and get moved in during that, oh man, it would have been bad news. So the quarantine happened at the best time.
Yeah. Are you still in Whittier?
Yeah, we moved up closer to the college. So we actually moved from unincorporated to Whittier proper. So for those folks who are Westminster natives, like moving from Midway City to Westminster,
Okay.
moving up
Yeah,
as we
one of
call it.
these days I go to Whittier once a month. One of these days we're gonna have to meet up. But I go at these weird times. I have a meeting once a month in Whittier at 4 o'clock, and it goes from 4 to like 7 or 4 to 8. It's the most random time period.
Where in Whittier are you heading out to?
I go I go to the 605, and is it like Firestone or something like that?
Oh, so that's like South Whittier from where I was before. So over kind of near La Mirada, Norwalk, Santa Fe Springs area.
Oh no, Slauson. Like Slauson in Washington.
Yeah, that's right up by my house. We're like 4 or 5 blocks north of there, or 4 or 5 blocks, 4 or 5 major streets up in there.
Yeah, I'm on this committee at the Union Hall there, so I go there once
Wow,
a month. And
that's right. You were telling me about that when you get to reprimand all those people for missing class.
yeah, it's pretty much like being on a council of punishments. Although you can't get very creative, they kind of dialed in the rules on what you can do to these kids. But we're strict, man. You can't miss. You miss one class, and you got to come see the board and explain why you missed class.
Yeah, I remember when we were doing that terrible backpacking trip and I almost died. You were explaining that whole process to me
Oh
and all
yeah,
that. Man, I mean, I never missed class in college anyways because of, sports. I missed enough anyways. And I figured I was paying $18 billion to go to a private school that I should go to every class. But, man, I just couldn't imagine like, oh, my baby's sick, got to miss class. Okay, well, this one is a freebie, but the next time your baby's sick, better tell it to suck it up.
yeah. You better suck it up, or you're gonna get your rate held for 6 months. It's pretty brutal, man. That's why we tell them like you don't miss for bullshit, because when you do have a real problem, you need that freebie.
Yeah.
So here's a random question that I have that I've been thinking about for the last couple of years.
Okay.
What do you think the college system looks like in 18 years from now? Do you think it's the same as it is today?
I hope not. I think college is a huge waste of time, if I'm being completely honest. I know that that's like taboo for a teacher to say, but it just doesn't do enough people enough good. And there's no, it, I don't remember where I heard it recently. I think it was the Neil, how was his name? Dave Chappelle's co-writer.
Oh, Neil Brennan,
He had that stand up, and he
the
said it
three mics.
perfectly. Yeah, he said it perfectly. Like, this is a small business loan that we're giving these kids, and nobody wants to start their life, you know, 50, 60, $70,000 in debt. It makes no sense. My wife and I pay $1,200 a month in student loans. Like,
Jesus.
that's 14, $15,000 a year of what should be disposable income just flying away. And so, if I wasn't a teacher, I don't know what I would do. I don't think my degree in English would have gotten me anywhere else. So yeah, I mean,
No, and honestly, and obviously sports had to play in your part, but
yeah,
uh if you weren't playing sports, going to a private school to get a teaching degree seems like a terrible business plan,
it's the worst.
because like you're capped on how much money you can make. It doesn't make the most amount of sense. And uh, I just think that the rising cost of schools, like tuition doesn't go down ever. Every
Yeah.
year it goes up. Even when you're in school, that's another bullshit thing they don't really tell you is like, okay, you're going to school for the next 4 years. Tuition may go up every year. Not may, it's going to go up every year, and we're not going to tell you how much until the next year starts.
And yeah, it's just a wild thing, and it's really predatory. It is predatory lending because the people who can afford to go to college come from families with money who, they've been saving for it their entire lives. Parents have been, putting money in a college fund or whatever,
Mhm.
and the students or the kids who really get buried are people who come from like lower middle class or middle class families, or even low income students get more need based help. So like, if you come from a middle class family in America and you're trying to go to college to do something that's like fringe worthy, you just get buried by the system, and it's really unfortunate. So, going back to your question, 18 years, I hope people are doing more trades.
Yeah, I hope it's more trade. They should take a trade specific look at it, like they do, like in the program that I'm a part of. On the board with, we're one fire sprinkler trade school, and we
Yeah,
teach people how to get that trade, and they get paid while they're doing it. I don't see why we can't apply that to every trade, whether it's accounting or teaching or these different things, and get rid of the 2 years of general ed and allow these people a better chance to work and not collect debt and be more specific. And I just feel that it's such a waste of the way they do it. But the other problem is, kids from 18 to 21 aren't ready to work.
yeah. Hmm.
That's the other problem. Like, they aren't ready to have a real job, and I think that there has to be some sort of reform. But I mean, the reason I've been thinking about it, my son's now 2, and I put money aside for him to do. I decided to do with whatever he wants with, and I'm not sure that it's college. I don't know if Katie agrees with me or not, but but I don't know what the ultimate answer is, and I don't know that money is best used going to college.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. What if he
How about
wants to
just
be
buying a
an
house? If you just
electrician?
bought a house
Yeah,
with that money, you'd probably be way ahead than going to college.
yeah. And the truth of the matter is, even as a teacher, um, I've learned more in the classroom than I did in my prep. I learned more in the classroom than I did student teaching. Like, all of the stuff that I did had very little influence on my preparation. Um, you know, my first teaching job was an epic failure. I didn't know how to talk to people. Like, I'm coming straight from baseball in this locker room where it's like nonstop bullshit and camaraderie, and I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, but
Yeah, I would say whatever you want.
it's just like giving it back and forth. And I go to teaching, and it's so politically correct. And as someone who has a very weak filter, that was just not a great experience. So I had to learn how to play that game a little bit, and then I got caught up in like the teacher shortage. And luckily, I'm at a place now where I kind of learned how to play the game, and I just kind of worry about my four walls and worry about the kids. But man, like, there's nothing in my education that prepared me for that. Um, I don't know. School just seems like a huge waste of time. And honestly, I feel kind of weird saying this, but it really is just pushing like the liberal agenda out into the world. And not that I'm a Republican or conservative by any means, but like I hear about some of the stuff that's happening even at my alma mater at Whittier, and I'm just like, holy Toledo! Like kids need a safe space to get out of a lecture if something they hear upsets them. And I'm like, what's the point of freedom of speech if you're not willing to like listen to something that's potentially going to hurt your feelings? Um,
Well, they're not preparing them for the real world. I think that's kind of
yeah,
one of the issues is like if you protect everybody from anything that they don't like or that doesn't make them feel comfortable, then how are they ever going to go and deal with real life problems? Because real life issues are uncomfortable and put you in positions that make you feel anxious or angry or depressed, and you have to learn how to deal with them. And they're basically now trying to get people to avoid those feelings. And I think that you're right. I think that they need to reverse that. Not that I think that they, not that bullying should be a thing. I definitely don't think that, but I don't think that you should shield kids or young adults from seeing some things that they don't want to see.
yeah, I literally couldn't agree more. The world's not an easy place, and I mean, I hear all these people today who are so anti-sports and anti-competition, and oh, I don't want my student doing this; it's going to hurt their feelings if they lose. It's like, yeah, life is all about losing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you lose all the time at everything, and you get over it, and you start again, and you figure it out. Even I think Dave Chappelle said in his stand-up. I feel like I keep going back to stand-up comedy for my life lessons recently, but some of these kids who are punks in school, like they need to be bullied. They need to be taken down a peg. There is a social hierarchy out there, and like now it's just if you fight, you're the king of the school. Like there's no more space for wit or intelligence or being clever with your words, because if you say something remotely, um, you know, I don't want to advocate for bullying, but if you say something remotely like jabbing at someone, it's a hate crime. No matter what it is, it's a hate crime. And
Oh, I know you and I definitely committed some hate crimes back in high school, and some of them I'm definitely
uh,
not proud of. But
yeah,
it definitely is I think a different world. But you know what? Who I blame? Funny, another random thing I was thinking about the other day is people blame our generation for like participation trophies, right? And this
yeah,
whole thing, but it's not our generation's fault because when we were kids, we weren't the ones that decided we got participation trophies.
yeah. No,
It was the baby boomers who were handing out the participation trophies, not us. I didn't decide I got a participation trophy when I was a kid. And I
yeah,
think it's
your
funny that
parents.
they blame us for their decision.
There's only one participation trophy that I'm content with in my entire life, and it was finishing the LA Marathon. Everything else, garbage.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and but see, that's because that competition, that you're just competing against yourself
yes,
to accomplish a task or a feat that you weren't sure you were able to do it. So that's not a participation award. That's a I did this thing that I thought was impossible. Putting on a pair of soccer shoes and running around the field is not completing a feat that you
yeah.
didn't think was possible, right? Like running a marathon is an accomplishment. If you said you held on to your 5K one with some pride, I'd roll my eyes. But
Yeah, no.
a marathon is definitely something that is worth
Well,
commemorating.
circling back to participation in soccer. So, despite it being my favorite sport now and definitely probably the best sport in the world, you are the soccer expert of youth soccer, having played it and kind of come up through the ranks in club soccer. Why is soccer synonymous with participation trophies? Because I know we got them in football, we got them in baseball. Why is it soccer that gets pegged
Well,
with
because I
that?
think soccer is just the dumping ground for people to talk trash on for being soft, right? And I think that growing up, soccer was always just looked down on, and so it's easy to lump that in with something that everybody considers soft, which is participation trophies. So I think they just got married together that way. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
Soccer. I don't think we have enough time today to go into the youth soccer debate, or anybody else other than us are interested in going deep into the soccer development world. We'll save that for off-air conversation, because I do have thoughts on that.
I was just about to ask you what you thought about the developmental academy going away, but we can save it.
Yeah, the development, just quick, U.S. Soccer had a youth development academy, and they've canceled it now, and so they're not now developing their own talent. They're just doing it the old school way, which they did many years before. Actually, we were good before the development academy, so maybe this is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, what preceded it was the ODP, right?
ODP, but not a lot of kids came out of the ODP programs. I mean, there were some, but I wouldn't say the majority of kids played ODP. ODP was really pay for play type of situation. You really had to afford it to do it on top of your club set in. So anyway, so let's go back to, I want to hear what your current thoughts are on the coronavirus. Where do you think we are? What do you believe? What do you think we should open up?
So, with anything, it's so nuanced, and I'm not an expert. Let me preface all of this with, this is all my opinion based on what I've read.
Wait, you don't have a PhD in virology?
No, in infectious diseases, no,
Yeah.
I don't. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think that it's a little bit overhyped by the media. I think that Trump downplayed it a little bit early, and then the media made this big deal about it. And once we did start to see some actual infections and some deaths that came from it, obviously nobody wants anyone in their family to die and or in their immediate circle or whatever, even if you just say humans in general. However, I do think that this is really not going to paint me well, but I think part of it is like survival of the fittest. This has been going on forever. That's the whole reason why we have an immune system. If our immune system isn't developed enough to withstand this virus, then you gotta go.
Well,
right?
I think we need to preface this by saying you've always been a proponent of overpopulation on this earth.
Yes, that is correct. I do believe the earth is well past its carrying capacity. There's this thing called Earth Overshoot Day, and it's the day each year that the earth essentially uses up its allocated resources for that given year. Last year it was like August, whatever. This year it's July 29th. So,
well, that number might readjust after the end of the coronavirus.
you actually, it might be even earlier because of how much electricity and stuff people are using, and the amount of water and bottled water that we're going through, and plastics and stuff. But
hey, hold on real quick. I just need to do a quick sidebar. Guys, use the water out of your refrigerator. You do not need water bottles during this coronavirus epidemic. Okay, that was the one thing I never understood. I got maybe you should store up on some food, bulk up your earthquake supply, different things like that. But you know what? The water was never in danger during this entire thing. I don't understand the water shortage.
The toilet paper thing is what got me the most. Like, fuck, if it all came down to it, and I didn't have toilet paper, I would just use a washcloth. And
or your hand. Guess what? A lot of people in the world just use their hand, and you wash it off afterwards.
Yeah, luckily I live in a place where I have washcloths, so I just use a washcloth. Throw
maybe some trees.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options. It's not like it was something that you could not possibly continue to live without.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I don't know. What about you? How are your thoughts? Because I know my overpopulation theory is not, widely accepted or appreciated. If I'm telling people that they should die if they get it.
Well, I saw something. Robert Flores posted something on Instagram the other day that I thought was kind of interesting. You can be. I'm in this category of somebody who's worried about the economic issue, worried about people dying, worried about I forget what the third prong is, but you can be worried about all those things and not be a terrible person, right? And so I do worry about people that live paycheck to paycheck, and people that are going to, lose their houses or lose their apartments, or, significantly impacted. And so I'm having a hard time understanding, you know, every year people die of many different things, including the flu. I'm not saying that this is the flu, but I'm saying there are lots of different things, and that doesn't stop us from, completely doing these things. I mean, take tobacco, for example. We still allow people to smoke and chew tobacco, and it kills that more than the coronavirus every year, right?
Yeah.
But we just allow that to happen. So to say that we're not accepting of a certain amount of death rate is contradictory to a lot of things that we do in America. So I can kind of pull myself back and understand a certain amount of death for an issue is acceptable. I mean, look at the war. We allow war to happen every year, and there's going to be a certain amount of death with that. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't see, at some point we have to just understand that this is going to have a certain amount of death with it, and it's something that we're going to have to live with. I don't know. I don't think that at a certain point that you have to let people go back to work. And then there's
Yeah.
the whole other side where if you're not gonna let people work, you can't also make them pay rent and
Yeah.
pay their mortgage. That's crazy. And thankfully you and I, are still getting our paychecks and we're not affected by that. But that doesn't mean I'm not worried about other people or have, empathy for a lot of other people that are in worse situations. And I don't want to see that happen, to a lot of good people. And that's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking to, I pulled it up while you were talking, and Forbes last year came out with this article talking about how 78% of US workers live paycheck to paycheck. Um, that's great. That's 4 out of 5 people who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm not sure that $1,200 from the government is enough to compensate for that, especially given the
Well,
fact,
it would be if they let them not pay rent or
yeah,
their mortgage.
yeah, that's my next point. In California, I mean, just in Whittier alone, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom house goes for $2,500. So it would be both husband and wife stimulus check, and then they'd have to dip into their kids' stimulus funds as well if they had kids. So it just doesn't make any sense. And you know, I guess I'm also coming at this with a little bit of bias. Like I said, we did move into a new house. We need new furniture. We need all these new things. And those are just things that like I have to go buy. And so I'm being a little bit impatient, selfishly, because I'm sitting here with an empty living room because I'm not just going to order furniture for thousands of dollars offline and have it not fit the space or whatever. But I'm just one of millions of people who are experiencing this type of undue stress because of this virus. And that's not to downplay the fact that people are dying. I mean, yeah, it's really freaking sad. You and I both have parents who are of the age that if they caught it, they would likely
In
be in
serious
life.
danger.
Yeah. However, it's also part of life. Like, what? I don't know. The whole thing about like trying to prolong life forever, and like I see people in nursing homes at 90 years old who have been there for 10 years, who have been having people wipe their ass for 10 years. Like, that's not a quality of life that anyone should have to live. And we're trying to preserve all these people, and then we're allocating resources to them while their grandchildren are struggling to make rent and having to go sell feet pics on freaking their premium Snapchat or whatever just to get by. Like, I don't get it. It's not what we need to do as a society. And I'm not claiming to like, what is it, elder side or whatever, where you kill elderly people. Like, I'm not claiming for, or clamoring for that, but I do want, I don't know. I just want things to be a little bit more realistic, and to just completely shut down the economy.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm hearing now that California is not going to really reopen until 2021. And, that puts my job at risk because there's no need for, a whole bunch of teachers if everything is online. Like, one online teacher could handle 2 teachers worth of caseload. So
Well, I disagree with that. I mean, it depends if you want those kids to actually learn anything. I
well,
mean, there's a serious issue. I don't know how much you're experiencing it. Katie, she's a teacher, my fiance, and she doesn't get full participation from these kids.
yeah,
And it's hard to. And another issue, like I had, I know how hard it is for these kids to learn. Part of my job is to communicate with teams of people, and it's really hard to get some points across via virtual talking and pulling up a whiteboard on my laptop and trying to draw something, or instead of just printing out a drawing or sharing a drawing on on video and trying to point things out. It's just not the same as being able to self collaborate, together. And that's not an efficient way to learn, and it takes longer for everything. So I think that you would actually need more not that they would actually do this, but you need more teachers to do things online to actually get kids to learn. I mean,
well, you're preaching to the choir. I think class sizes in general need to go down, especially given the increase in media and stuff these days. Like, I teach 7th grade, and a majority of my students are nowhere near reading at grade level, second, 3rd grade reading levels. And now we're trying to teach exclusively online, where they have to self-facilitate and read their own directions and make sense of things that otherwise they would have me in the classroom to clarify. And it is a problem. We're writing, I'm going to go into the weeds here, but we're writing an essay right now on cause and effect of Harriet Tubman, and what her role was in the abolitionists and how it's impacted the world today, right? And that's a deep conversation for anyone, let alone a 7th grader. And almost every single one of my students wrote a biography about Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
Right? Because they
just didn't understand.
Yeah, they missed the cause and effect component. And that's where if I made a video, I did all these things to kind of break it down and scaffold it, and no matter what I did, they just saw, oh, Harriet Tubman biography. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting what it looks like. But thinking about coronavirus, I couldn't imagine being a student right now. This has to be a terrible time to be a kid.
It's pretty brutal.
Going outside, playing, like not being able to just go to the park and play. I don't know if kids do that anymore, but
I mean, so for some kids, it's the best thing in the world. They can just sit in the home and play video games all the time.
Yeah. Well, like, what do you do if you're a senior? Like, this has to paint your high school experience in such a negative light.
Well, imagine if this would have happened your senior year. Your baseball season ends. Yeah. You're trying to go to college the next year. You don't know I don't know, what are people do? What are these colleges doing with like their student athletes that are coming in from high school? Like, that's got to be a complicated issue, especially for the spring sport people.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine how that would have completely screwed up your life going into your senior year of high school and freshman year of college.
Not only that, but if you're a senior, a spring sports senior, and you're impacted by this, NCAA is granting an additional year of eligibility. They're not granting additional scholarships. So, if I'm a senior baseball player and I'm going to whatever mid-level school that was offering me a 50% scholarship, that scholarship might not be there because the senior whose scholarship I was going to
taking is still going to
come back. So, this
maybe junior college baseball is going to be really talented this spring.
Yeah, I hope so. Those are the games that I go to the most, just because I think they play with the most passion, because they have so many different things that they're playing for, whereas colleges, they're just playing for glory or whatever. But
so this is something I touched on a little bit with Rob's podcast, but I really am wondering come this fall if college sports is even going to happen. I don't know that if this is something we're still dealing with come September 1st. Yeah, the pro leagues have a lot of money and they can figure out ways to deal with this issue. But does a college soccer team, a low-level Division I college soccer team or Division II college soccer team have the ability to put all the safe practices in place come this fall? And if they can't, can you allow college football because it makes money to go on and not the lower level sports? Like, how do they handle that?
We already kind of have an answer. Fullerton has already put all their classes online for the fall. So they're anticipating California not releasing it.
So what do the sports teams do?
Yeah, I mean, if they're not allowing students on campus, I'm not sure they're going to allow student athletes just to go. And I follow MLS pretty seriously, and their talk, because of the way that the whole thing is set up, the whole league is set up, they're probably not going to even start playing games until September. And if pro teams aren't playing games until September, there's no way that they're going to put students at risk in that way. I just don't get how.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the only people I could see doing it is college football, and that's because they are essentially indentured servants and they have so much money on the line. And
There's NCAA football programs have enough money to do it, but then what about all those rules where everything has to be fair in college sports, right? And you have to have equal teams and equal scholarships and all that other stuff. Can you allow them to continue, but not the rest of the sports? I'm sure the greedy asses at the NCAA will figure out a way to make that happen, but I think it's going to be interesting, and I don't think enough people are talking about how the logistics of that are going to work, because we don't even know how the logistics of opening up the economy is going to happen, let alone continue college sports.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. The whole thing is just it's just an unfortunate circumstance, and because of the government mandates, you know, we're going to see what it looks like. It might be an opportunity for some of the conferences to lead the NCAA, because those Sun Belt schools, the SEC schools, Florida, Georgia, they've already started releasing their restrictions on the stay-at-home order. So, you know, California and New York, I think we're going to be the last two states to be able to leave the house. What does that look like if half the country is able to go participate in these activities and the rest isn't? So, yeah.
How does that work? Yeah, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, Georgia, I know are three states that are reopening come May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be really interesting to see how some of this stuff plays out.
Yeah, well, luckily I'm not in a position where I have to worry about it.
So, okay, now just shifting gears again, do you have any conspiracy theories related to coronavirus that you're not necessarily a believer in, but interested in, or think may have some truth to them?
No, you know me, I'm a big conspiracy advocate. I think that it goes a long way to making the world make sense. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it is just cover up stuff. You know, there's reports that China knew about it in October, November. If
They
China,
definitely knew about it. Everybody knew about it in November.
yeah, so, you know, if they knew about it, they probably could have held on to it, or relinquished that information, I'm sorry, a little bit sooner. But yeah, I mean, it's so perfect that it happens during an election year. Talking about suppressing voting, if you want to talk about conspiracy theories, you know, this is a great way to suppress voters in blue states from getting out there and voting, because the
Well,
states
Trump is trying to actually suppress voters by telling them that they can't do mail-in ballots. I mean, he's trying to suppress the vote that way, legitimately. And whether you're a fan or not of Trump, I'm not going on either side of that. I'm just saying, if you're saying that you don't want people to mail in vote during a pandemic, you were trying to get certain people not to vote.
Yeah, of course, especially people who, you know, are in between addresses or don't have, you know, a stable mailing address, living out of friends. You know,
Or just
obviously,
don't check their mail like me. I often just grab the whole thing out of the mailbox and throw it in the trash without really looking at any of it.
yeah, it's 2020. If they're not emailing me, it's not important.
No, it's not important at all, man. I just take the stuff, throw it in the trash can. Every once in a while, I'll glance through it. And usually my goal is to try to throw all of it away without looking at any of it closely every single time I get the
Yeah, um, yeah, I agree. I was trying to think of something else to say, and I was like, yeah, no, I just agree. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what about the number of reporting? What are your beliefs on that?
So obviously, with stuff like this, a lot of it is what people are willing to release. So I imagine, and this is of course my, you know, unindoctrinated opinion, but I really do think that there's a lot higher infection rate than what the media is going to. There's just no way to test everyone, and you know, there's probably millions of people who are asymptomatic who aren't being tested because they are immune already. They're not showing symptoms. They probably had a cough or a cold or a fever in December, and they're like, oh, I have the flu. And then it went away, and that was that, right? And then, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like the numbers are probably a little bit higher. I know the death toll is questionable. I was reading something on Twitter, and we all know that Twitter is the most reliable source in the world.
100%. If it's on Twitter, it's definitely real.
But that hospitals are receiving additional funds if people die there because of coronavirus. So if someone has coronavirus but dies of a heart attack, they're calling it coronavirus, complications of coronavirus. So,
well, it's because they can't rule out that the coronavirus didn't induce the heart attack. The other thing that they're also reporting that is that if you are showing all the signs of coronavirus and you're older and you die before they test you, they're just they'll put that to the tally as well, which is I don't know how that sounds a little odd that you're just going to blame everything. Like, if it was the flu, would that have also killed them? I mean, blaming all that on the coronavirus, the death toll. But the death toll in America is at 45,000 right now. So that's still, yes, that's a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 45,000. I mean, that's a population of a small city.
A very small city, a pretty small city around here.
I just did a quick search of populations of 45,000. I mean, we're looking at places like New Plymouth.
What about what's the population of Westminster? That would be a good
Westminster CA population. Thankful for computers these days. I mean, Westminster is almost at 100,000.
Yeah.
In 2018, it was at 91,000. So, like Garden Grove is 180,000. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. I think that there's a lot of. I think that not just coronavirus related, but the problem is that there's a lot of suppression of information from both sides of the aisle on everything, and everybody's using the facts that they want to push their agenda the most, and so that's just skewing everybody's understanding. And I don't trust anybody. I'm having a hard time trusting anybody right now reporting anything and taking it as 100% facts. Like, that's very hard to do.
When science changes so quickly, so from day to day, the things that Dr. Fauci is saying are changing because science changes. So as they are able to spend more time with it, they're able to change it. And he's even admitted it could disappear tomorrow. And so everything that they think it is all hypothesis, but with science, hypotheses can be countered instantaneously in a day, a week. So we're making all these speculations about the world being closed until January, but it could go away next week, and that's that. So.
Yeah. So give me your predictions as we wrap this up. When do you think we will have – I want to know, when do you think we'll have sports back? When do you think we'll have fans in the stands again?
Well, shoot, you could tell me last week in the middle of it, hey, you got tickets to the Galaxy game, and I'm going to go. I'm going to risk it. I think that we're going to start seeing some of the European soccer leagues fairly early. I know the Bundesliga is on pace to start next month, early in May. If the Bundesliga starts, I don't see the EPL being far behind. Spain, I believe, will probably take a little bit longer given the fact that they've had a pretty high death total.
Yeah, Spain and Italy got to be behind everybody else.
Yeah, and then once those European countries are able to show that they can have behind closed doors games, I think the United States will go ahead and try it out. I love the idea of the modified baseball season at the spring training complexes. I think that that's a phenomenal idea. It sucks for players like Trout who are record chasing and this is a lost year for him. But I guess the same can be said about the World War II players and that sort of thing. But I would imagine in the middle of the summer we'll start seeing some closed door stuff. So definitely basketball needs to get started. Football is going to be interesting. American football is going to be really interesting because they can't play. I guess they could play behind closed doors because so much of their money is tied up into TV contracts as long as they're being televised. And I think that that's the number one method that football is consumed is via television anyways. So, I don't think it's a terrible thing for the league, but baseball has to make some adjustments. Basketball is going to have to play behind closed doors. They're saying that the virus grows exponentially in cold weather, so hockey's done forever. See ya, hockey. Soccer, I don't know. They say that it's going to start in May, probably going to get pushed to June, probably going to get pushed.
I think they just announced recently that they pushed it even farther.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
it's in June for sure now.
June 8th. Honestly, I hope that this is an opportunity for them to get aligned with the FIFA calendar finally. I think it's a great opportunity for MLS to figure that out and August start, early June, end of May finish. It'll be really clean to get us on pace with the rest of the world and transfers and all that jazz. So I think that's the best thing for the league. It's unfortunate that it took this catastrophe pandemic to get us there. But yeah, getting fans back in the seats. Gosh, it's because of California. I don't know if here we're going to be able to do it until 2021 at the earliest. And even then, I think we're waiting on a vaccine or some confirmation of herd immunity. So, yeah, what are your thoughts? I don't know.
I don't think we're going to see fans until 2021 in the stands. It just doesn't make sense. You don't need to. It's not essential. Get the people on the field. You can watch them on TV. It's better to watch them on TV anyways for most of these sports, for most of these events. And just get them playing, and we can come back in 2021 when it's all safe and clear. I mean, putting all these people, if you're worried about a second wave, putting people in stadiums is the fastest way to get a second wave. So it just really seems like a bad idea. To continue to social distance the best you can while opening the economy, I think needs to happen sooner than later in May, at the beginning of June. But don't be putting people in unnecessary spaces close together. It just doesn't seem to make sense for the rest of this year or until this thing's really completely squashed and or vaccinated. Another thing, a random conspiracy, I don't know how much I trust the first vaccination that comes out. I don't know if I'm going to get in line to get my arm shot up with that vaccination.
Nope.
I think I'll risk it. The more I think about that, the less I like that idea.
What's a malaria drug? So we're good.
Yeah.
So I have a sports question for you though. If they told you could get a ticket to a game, but they're only selling like 1 in 6 seats, and it's checkered throughout, and you're socially distanced at the stadium, is it worth it? And if it is, to those diehard fans, how much of a premium are they going to have to pay for those tickets?
I think for most diehard fans, yes, it's worth it. For me personally, I'm becoming an old grouchy man who does not want to go to the stadium. I don't want to drive. I don't want to park. I want to just tailgate and watch the game and then be transported back to my house instantaneously. And I can just do that from my house these days. So I just do that instead of going to the game. I'm just old and grouchy like that. I'm one of those guys. I never want, if automated cars come tomorrow, I will be completely happy never having to drive a car again. Driving a car is a big waste of my time. I don't like doing it. I don't like dealing with it at all. So I don't mind the drive. I do have time to just focus and think for a while, but just I could do that while sitting in I wish I could take a subway everywhere. That would be a deal situation for me.
Yeah, I know you don't like going to games because I haven't seen you at a Galaxy game since 2017.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely, when those bad years were, I wasn't really motivated. Then my son came, and that kind of really derailed me.
I don't think we're out of the bad years yet.
Exactly. Well, that's true. The glory years don't seem like they're coming up here anytime soon.
Hey, Cristiano Ronaldo's son is about to be 9, so we're about 6 years away from him.
What about these wild rumors of Juventus not wanting to pay the rest of Cristiano Ronaldo because of how much money they're losing?
I mean, look, if you're telling me that we can get Cristiano Ronaldo for $18 billion, whatever it's going to cost, sign him up. Chicha, you're out. The fuck out of here.
You know, I really hate Chicharito. That's another problem with I'm just not a fan of Chicharito.
I'm torn. You know, obviously I hate Eltree. Fucking hate Eltree. Hate everything they stand for. Love Mexican people. Hate Eltree. Just can't stand them. Right? Biggest rivalry in international soccer. You heard it here second because Alexi Lalas said it first. Hate him. Hate him. Hate him. But he's on the team, so like you know, I gotta support him. I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll say that I hated Gio, and he was terrible. Fuck out of here, Gio. Hated Jonathan, and he ended up playing really well. In fact, I have a Jonathan Dos Santos jersey.
Oh, that hurts me. I can't believe you wear a Dos
Uh,
Santos jersey.
he's a captain,
Oh
man.
God.
He's so good. I haven't had to have it custom made because they didn't have his nameplate, so I had to like have them cut like the top of an eye off to like put on the back for the dot. Yeah, he won me over. Yeah, I don't know. But if we got Ronaldo, Chicha, the hell out of here.
Yeah, I think that there might be some real possibility of Juventus just not. I mean, there might be some validity to that. I could see them being in some financial issue and wanting to dump that money. I mean, he's already at the tail end, so might as well just cut it now.
Yeah, I was talking to Tony Ramirez about this weekend. Saw him at Xavier's birthday party, and I mean, I was socially distanced, and we did it virtually. I didn't leave the house, but we were talking. This could be if the MLS decided to pony up and really go after some people this summer. There's going to be a lot of stars out of contract because the European football teams are just drowning right now. Right? Just utterly drowning. They're so overextended with their player salaries. There's no way that they're going to make it. And so if MLS just doubled down and was like, screw the CBA we just signed.
Yeah, but I don't know that the MLS teams are in that much better financial situation than the European teams.
No, especially because they rely on Gates more than anything else.
Yes. And that last question, and then we'll get going. So do you think that it's fair for every team or for every league to ask their players to take a pay cut?
See, this is where I'm torn too. The human in me says yes. Maybe not in MLS because those guys don't make any money. Maybe not in hockey because outside of a few people, they don't make any money. But these baseball players are making millions of dollars. And the question comes, how much money do you need to live? Then there's the side of me that's grown up in America and says, no, it's a free capital market. So they have a skill, and these teams pay for that skill. Um, it's not the player's fault. The owners aren't giving up money. So, you know, at the end of the day,
owners are losing money.
But like the NFL owners have been riding the camel's hump for, 10 years at this point without any losses. So yeah, they can take a little bit of a loss this year, and they'll still be billions of dollars in the black from revenue. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's the human thing to do, right? To care for other people whenever you can. If you have the resources to take care of your neighbor, take care of your neighbor.
So you're taking a different angle on this, as far as you're saying redirecting that money to other people.
Yeah,
I'm looking at this just strictly from a business sense. These teams are losing 25 to 50% of the revenue, not making money from TV deals. Why would that not roll down to the employees? If my job, if we lost half of our contracts tomorrow, if all of our contracts tomorrow got cut by 25%, I would have no other choice but to reduce all my employees' pay by 25%.
So then I'll ask you the reverse question. If you had a hot 4 months, are you going to give every employee, are you going to revenue share? Or because you can't have it both ways.
Yes, you kind of do, because when you have a hot period, your employees can demand more money from you, and they do, especially in non-contract situations. In leagues with unions and stuff, yeah, when they have a hot 4-year period, when they go back to the negotiating table, they say, we need more of this pie, and they go back and get it. So they do have that opportunity to get more money. Just like right now in construction, it's a hot market. Everybody's getting paid way beyond their skills. A person with 5 years experience is getting paid like they have 10. That is what's happening right now. And they don't have, there's no contract to keep them employed, so they can just do it at any time. So yes, when the bad times come, I think you have to adjust. And I think that it just only makes logical sense for them to take not take, but you have to relay that reduced pay on to them.
See, and I come at it from, I guess, the since I don't own my own business and I don't have employees, I look at it from the other sense, is that the players make so much money, they should be giving it to other people as a means of keeping the world afloat. I mean, if every professional athlete who makes over $3 million a year was able to give $500,000 back to their community, we would see most of the issues that were like the people foreclosing and not being able to make rent and going hungry, all the stuff that coronavirus is causing, as a kind of exponential, not exponential, but a tangential,
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of that argument, because Jeff Bezos could just shell off a couple of the B's that he has, a couple billions that he has, and fix the problem too. I don't think that needs to be relayed to the athletes or to any cutoff point. To me, it's just more of a financial. The other argument would be these guys aren't working, so they're not fulfilling their contracts, right? They're what are they doing to earn their money at this point?
Well, that's part of being part of a union and collectively bargaining, for sure. That the owners could always lay them off, but then you run that risk of, am I going to cut Tom Brady? Am I going to cut Jeff?
Yeah, the Patriots said they were going to cut Tom Brady.
So
Tampa Bay. What are your thoughts on Tampa Bay?
Dude, it's very well documented that I'm a 49ers fan first and a Tom Brady fan second. So
same.
The Bucs have my support. They just got Gronk. Leonard Fournette got cut. I hope he goes to Tampa Bay too. They already have a better receiving core than Tom ever had in New England. He's not throwing 30 interceptions this year like old crab legs over there. So I think the Bucs are the real deal.
49ers, Bucs, NFC Conference Championship. I'm ready.
I would be torn for who to support.
I'd be torn, but I would be happy with whoever was in the Super Bowl in that case.
Yeah.
All right, Thomas, thanks for coming on short notice. This was fun. We're going to do it again. I'm going to try to do this at least once a week moving forward.
Yeah,
all right, man.
Bye,
Thanks.
Tom.